Double or Nothing is coming up in 1 month's time. AEW is going to be back in Las Vegas for their next pay-per-view, and tonight they took one step towards solidifying their main event, which is going to be, hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be a four-way for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. It will be MJF defending against the other three pillars of the company. Tonight, it was supposed to be Darby Allin one-on-one with Sammy Guevara. And the winner of that match would challenge MJF at Double or Nothing, because last week, Jungle Boy got bounced out of the Pillars tournament. He got screwed, but he lost. And I said, there's still a chance that we could end up with a four-way here. Just doesn't make sense. That's the match that makes the most sense. To do heel against heel, MJF against Sammy, Sammy laying down for MJ. I mean, what kind of way is that to promote a main event for your pay-per-view? Where one of the participants in the main event might lay down for the champion. Not exactly the best way to be promoting your pay-per-view main event. And so tonight, MJF comes out, he gets involved, he costs Darby the match, and it looks like we're going to have MJF against Sammy Guevara until Tony Schiavone makes a very important announcement, which is that we're going to have a tag team match next week. And if Darby and Jungle Boy can beat MJF and Sammy, we're going to get our four-way at Double or Nothing, which is exactly what is going to end up happening. And MJF also, by the way, has pickles. He's going to have his very own custom pickle jar. That's right. We'll talk about those pickles a little bit later on. Tony Khan had an announcement of his own. That wasn't the announcement that Tony Khan had been promoting all week long. He was going to make some kind of news. And the announcement that Tony Khan made tonight had to do with the return of the Owen Hart tournament. Last year, we had the first ever men's and women's Owen Hart tournaments. They had Martha Hart come in, Owen's kids. It was nice. Frankly, I thought it was a very nice presentation. It sounded at the time like it was going to be an annual thing. And so this was the announcement of the kickoff. So I've got news on when the tournament will be kicking off and when the tournament will be culminating, which really should not be a surprise. If you look at the live event schedule that AEW has coming up in the summer, it should be pretty clear when the Owen Hart tournament is going to be taking place and when the tournament is going to be climaxing. And the date of the finals of the tournament is very interesting. So we'll talk about that. But we also had a surprise on the show tonight. And I will tell you, this is not something I was expecting. This caught me out of left field, and I think a lot of people out of left field, especially when you consider the fact that this individual is still listed on the WWE roster on WWE.com. At least as of an hour ago, he was. I don't know if they snuck in there and took him down. But Roderick Strong made his AEW debut tonight on Dynamite, coming to the aid of his former Undisputed Era partner, Adam Cole, as he was being beaten down by the Jericho Appreciation Society. Roderick Strong came down, he laid them all out, he embraced his former partner, and so Adam Cole and Roderick Strong now are, I guess, just waiting for Kyle O'Reilly to make his eventual return. Kyle O'Reilly's been out with some pretty serious injury issues. He should be back in the not-too-distant future. Bobby Fish, I don't know what's going on with Bobby Fish. I don't think he's coming back. He was there briefly. I mean, if you blink, you missed it. But I was not expecting to see Roderick Strong on my television tonight, because as far as I and everybody else knew, he was still under contract to WWE, even though he hasn't been seen on television since August. That was the last word on him. So that was legitimately a surprise, seeing him on the show tonight. A show that I thought on the whole was good. Again, there were pros and cons to the show, but on the whole, I enjoyed this episode of Dynamite. It pushed some things forward for the pay-per-view, including the show closing angle, which involved the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, and also involved the Butcher and the Blade in the main event of Dynamite. Yes, this was not an episode of Rampage. This was Dynamite. And the Butcher and the Blade got top billing at the end of well, they didn't really get top billing, but they were kind of just the guys who happened to be in the ring with Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita, who teamed up for the first time tonight. Anyway, this is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, April 26, 2023. April 26. Again, that is a date that stands out to me because if I am, unless I am mistaken, I believe it was April 26th. It might have been 25 years ago tonight, in fact, that we had the Steve Austin Dude Love match, which was Stone Cold's first title defense coming out of WrestleMania 14. And that was the night that Vince McMahon took a chair shot to the face. I'll bet there are a lot of people who would like to give Vince McMahon a chair shot to the face. But I believe that was 25 years ago tonight at Unforgiven, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen here as we go along tonight. And as always, there's one for you right there from our old pal Fire Panda. I do appreciate all the love, and we'll be going through your super chats a little bit later on, so go ahead and send them on in. 400 likes is the goal tonight for Be the Booker. We did it the other night. We had some fun with that. So again, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel as well. And of course, if you would like to become a channel member, applications are open for the Green World Order. GWO. That Sea of Green that you see in the chat, those are channel members. And depending on how long you have been a channel member for, you will have a different level badge. But access to emojis, early access to content like Sound Off Gamer, it's all part of the perks that you get for being a channel member. So do consider becoming one, or if you want, you can gift memberships to other people here on the channel. Before we get into the Dynamite show here tonight, I do want to start with one piece of news, and I have not seen this confirmed yet by AEW. But it seems to be the case. I certainly have not seen any denials of this. It looks like AEW Dark Elevation is no more. They have two YouTube shows, for those who don't know, Dark and Dark Elevation. Dark, I believe, still airs Tuesdays on YouTube. Dark Elevation has been their Monday night show on YouTube. And it looks like Dark Elevation has aired its final episode. And the reason for this is there was a listing on Fight TV for the series episode earlier this week, which was a best of compilation. And the description for this best of compilation reads as follows: don't miss the special and final episode of Elevation. It's Best of Elevation airing on Fight. The episode is throwing it back to some of the best matches that have graced our Monday nights over the years. Well, that sure sounds like Dark Elevation is no more to me. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than the final episode of Dark Elevation. And honestly, it makes sense, right? We keep hearing all of these rumors and reports of there being a brand new 2-hour weekly Saturday show. It's going to be announced any week now. I think the Warner upfronts are in a few weeks. They're doing their big presentation at the theater in Madison Square Garden. That may be where they make the announcement. I want to say it's May 17th. So it still may be a few weeks yet. I'm sure they're going to announce the show and CM Punk's return at the same time. So we know there's going to be a new show of some kind on Saturdays debuting in June. There really is no need for there to be two YouTube shows. You're gonna have Dark, which is, as far as anybody knows, still going to be there. So you can do Dark, but you'll have 2 hours of Dynamite. You'll have an hour of Rampage. You'll have 2 hours of what will probably be called AEW Collision, which is to say nothing of the weekly Ring of Honor television show. They have their quarterly Battle of the Belt specials, plus the pay-per-views. More than enough AEW content out there, even All Access right now, right? Which is only 6 episodes, but they have a whole plethora of content. You don't need 2 YouTube shows. So Dark Elevation being the sacrificial lamb, it makes sense to me. It's not surprising at all. I don't know what that means for Paul White, other than it sounds like Paul White's going to be out of a job as far as his commentary days, because he's one of the commentators on Dark Elevation. I think he's pretty much been calling the show since day one. If there's no more Dark Elevation, I don't know if they would shift him over to Dark proper. He has talked about wanting to get back in the ring. He's had a whole bunch of surgeries, hip surgeries. I know he's been recovering from that. I think he may be ready to get back in the ring. That may be the answer. You know, he may want to get back in the ring and do some stuff now. But anyway, that's the update on Dark Elevation. If you're a Dark Elevation fan, then I'm sure you are in mourning this week, but you'll be all right. You still have Dark on Tuesdays. Dynamite opened with Orange Cassidy, who is very familiar with the opening segment of this television show. I feel like he, more than anybody else over the past 6 months, has graced the opening segment of this show He's just maybe he's a ratings draw for them in the opening segment. I don't know. I think a lot of that has to do, frankly, with the lead in from Big Bang Theory. But certainly not his first rodeo here in the opening segment. Defending his international championship against Bandido. Finally, Bandido back on Dynamite. This guy's been missing. The last time we saw him on Dynamite was in January. January 18th, we had Bandido against Bryan Danielson. And it was great. And then he disappeared like a bandit. We haven't seen him since. The reason was his visa expired and he had to go back home and wait for the visa to get renewed. Tony Khan helped him with that. And so now he is able to come back and start making appearances again. But it's been far too long. There was a cool-looking one-arm suplex that Bandido gave to Cassidy from the apron back into the ring. Then he pressed Orange Cassidy in the air with one hand, which was very cool. He followed that with a frog splash for 2. Cassidy got his mousetrap pinning combination, but Bandido kicked out. And Excalibur pointed out that up until this point, nobody had ever kicked out of the mousetrap before. So they gave that to Bandido. He did kick out of the move. Cassidy responded by countering a pop-up cutter with an orange punch in midair. Beach break followed, and Orange Cassidy picked up the pinfall win. This is an enjoyable opener here. Winston Smith. Shout out to Bushwhacker Butch, who we lost recently. Thank you, Winston. What a goofy super chat. Thank you, Winston. I appreciate the love. I thought this was an enjoyable opening match. After it was over, Bandido grabbed the title, handed it to Orange Cassidy, who put his sunglasses on Bandido, or he tried to. Not an easy thing to do because of the mask, so it kept falling off. But Bandido put them back on, and he looked ridiculous as they posed together in the ring. You know, Bandido has had 4 matches, including tonight. He's had 4 matches on Dynamite, specifically, since he debuted last September against Chris Jericho in AEW. He's had 4 matches on Dynamite. He's lost all 4. Bandido is 0 for 4 on Dynamite. He has 1 win on Rampage. He has 1 win, funny enough, we were just talking about it, on Dark Elevation. No wins on Dynamite. He's got a big fat donut on Dynamite. That's not so good. That has to change. But Bandido is great. Bandido is just a fun guy to watch in the ring. And more often than not, even for people maybe who aren't all that familiar with him, he wins them over. You know, he's got some fun kind of creative spots. They always, I mean, it's always good for a big pop when he does the one-arm gorilla press, which he can do, you know, and he's working with guys who are, you know, relatively small. So he's a fun talent to watch in the ring. He's got that intangible about him. He's got something special about him. He's like Vikingo in that way, right? Although Vikingo is just a different kind of performer in terms of the stuff that he can do in the ring. But some guys just have it, right? There's a reason why WWE had a lot of interest in him as well. And it could have gone either way. He was considering both companies. He was asking different people, what should I do? And it led him to AEW. So it's great to have him back finally after all this time. And now that he's got his work visa, we should be seeing him more often on this show. And hopefully that means he'll start racking up some wins. Meanwhile, you know, you got Orange Cassidy, who is the international champion, right? He had the title when it was still the All-Atlantic title, and then they converted it. They leveled up. I forgot. I have to use the same vernacular that Tony Khan used. He leveled up, and it became the international championship. He's had this title for a while now. His run as champion has made that title the number 2 championship in all of AEW. It is the number 2 most prestigious championship in the entire company. And that is due to the run that Orange Cassidy has been on. I mean, it's been due to the booking of Orange Cassidy, but you know what I mean. It's due to the run that he has been on. He has been on television almost weekly on the main show. I mean, forget Rampage. Nearly every single week, he has been defending that championship since he won it in December on this show. This was his 20th title defense since December. and he's defended his championship against a whole host of different types of opponents. This is now the workhorse title. This is what the TNT title used to be. This is what the TNT title should have been. And so that's due to the run that Orange Cassidy has been on. Nobody else is doing that in this company. Forbidden Door is coming up in 2 months. June 25th. We're 2 months away from Forbidden Door. It feels to me like that might be the place for him to finally drop this belt. The announcers were making more of a habit of talking about how, he may be burning the candle at both ends. Well, he's taking on all these challenges. It's going to catch up to him at some point. So it's coming sooner than later. But it just strikes me that at a show like Forbidden Door, where, and he had that match with Will Ospreay last year, that's, in my opinion, stole the show, that if he's going to be in there defending an international title, let's say against a New Japan talent, that might be, the place that he finally drops it. We had Renee, and she was in the back with an angry Adam Cole, who said that he was going to go out to the ring tonight to call out Chris Jericho, and if he does not come out to the ring, then Cole said he is going to go and find him. And Renee also then interviewed Darby Allin and Jungle Boy in a separate segment. They were in the back together. And she said that Darby had requested the time. He had a little something he wanted to say here to Jungle Jack. Darby said that they both went a little too far last week and the things that they said to each other in that promo. Darby said that they don't have to like each other, but they should respect each other. He said that he would have been at ringside last week had he known what was going to happen in the main event. Darby asked Jungle Boy to have his back tonight, and Jungle Boy agreed that they did take things too far last week. He said they aren't the best of friends, probably would never be, but he said that he wished that he and Darby were facing off tonight, but that's not the match. So he wished Darby luck. Darby said that, it would have been nice if it was you and me this week, because I would have beaten you again. Jungle Boy said that Darby got lucky the last time they faced off. Darby told him that he had a match to go get ready for, so he would see him out there later on. That's not the best way to call a truce, by the way, is to, try to be the better man and say, we said some things last week that maybe we shouldn't have said, and, I want you to have my back, and, oh, by the way, if it was you and me this week, I totally would have beaten you. I totally would have kicked your ass. Yeah, it's not really the best way to call for a truce. I kind of picture that, honestly, being the eventual, the eventual way that a CM Punk Young Bucks meeting will go, because everyone's like, what's that meeting going to look like, right? The Young Bucks don't even want to meet with him. What if Tony Khan gets them in a room together? What's going to happen? I kind of picture it where, Punk goes in there and maybe Punk apologizes, even if he doesn't mean it. He apologizes. He's trying to be the bigger man, smoothing things over. And it looks like, all right, maybe things are going okay and everyone's cordial and things are cool. And the meeting is basically over, but Punk can't help himself. And he goes and he makes, he kind of makes some smart aleck comment or whatever. And the Young Bucks get all pissy and they storm out of the room. Like something like that is going to happen. That's kind of what Darby did to Jungle Boy here in this segment. I'm right. Like if eventually that meeting were to happen, would you really be surprised if something like that happened and the Young Bucks got offended and they stormed out of the fucking meeting? With all these people involved and all these stories, nothing would surprise me at this point. Like I said, all elite daycare. Still no meeting, by the way. Although CM Punk and Chris Jericho apparently had their meeting the other day. And what's funny about that is Punk and Jericho had their meeting down in Florida. I would assume that it must have been Jacksonville. They had their meeting the other day. By all accounts, the meeting went well. But it was Punk coming back from Florida. That's how he ended up on the same flight with some of the WWE crew, which then led to him showing up in Chicago backstage on Monday Night Raw. It only happened, apparently, because he was coming back from Florida, where he was for the meeting with Chris Jericho. So I was kind of amused by that. But anyway, we had Dax Harwood and Jeff Jarrett one-on-one. Jeff Jarrett came out with Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Sandem Singh. But officials rushed out while they were all still on stage, and they prevented Jarrett's crew from coming down to the ring with him, so he had to come down to the ring solo. This was some good, old school wrestling here. You had one old school wrestler. You had one old soul in Dax Harwood. I feel like he was just born in the wrong era, but he's kind of an old school guy, even though he's a lot younger than Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett went for a figure four. Harwood, though, countered into an inside cradle for a near fall. Harwood went for a suplex. Sanjay Dutt showed up. The same Sanjay Dutt who was barred earlier from ringside. He showed up. He tripped him. Caused Jarrett to fall on top of Dax, on top of Dax. Sanjay held Harwood's leg down while Jarrett got a cover for a near fall. Harwood chased Sanjay around, and then in the ring, Jarrett grabbed Harwood when he got into the ring, and he hit him with the stroke and then pinned him. After the match, Sanjay grabbed Dax's AEW Tag Team title belt, handed it to Jarrett, who posed with it. So let's think about this for a second. Jeff Jarrett comes out to the ring, right? He's on his way to the ring. He's got his whole crew with him. He's got Sanjay. He's got Jay Lethal. He's got Satnam Singh. The referees come out. They say, no, we're not going to stand for this. You guys are barred from ringside. You guys have to stay in the back, right? So they're in the back. The match is going on. Sanjay Dutt shows up. And apparently that's okay for him to show up in full view of the referee and factoring into the finish, which he did. He factored into the finish of the match. So he wasn't allowed at ringside before, but he's allowed to come out and factor into the finish of the match. For some reason, this does not lead to a disqualification. And I don't want to hear, well, AEW doesn't do disqualifications. They did one on this very show. I just haven't gotten to it yet. That was ridiculous. And of course, it wouldn't be a Jeff Jarrett match with all kinds of interference and shenanigans and shit. I mean, this has been going on since the TNA days. So it's a Jeff Jarrett match. There's going to be some kind of bullshit involved in the finish of the match. But the match itself, I thought the match itself was good. The match itself was what I expected it to be. I thought the work was fine. And now it looks like Jarrett and Jay Lethal are going to be in line for another tag team title match. I mean, that's certainly the way that it came off to me. Him posing with the tag team title belt at the end of this, him pinning Dax. I think they're doing Cash against Jay Lethal on Friday on Rampage. Is it Friday or Saturday? I've lost track of all of these Rampage preemptions. It's been the worst that it's ever been. The absolute worst that it's ever been. I know it's airing at 5:30 again this week, but for the life of me, I just forgot. Is it Friday or is it Saturday? I have no idea. I am shocked. Whenever I see the ratings come in for Rampage when it's being bounced around like this, and I see that the show got, I think, 370,000 viewers, I'm shocked it was that high. How can anybody keep track? One week it's Friday, but it's in a different time slot. The next week it's on Saturday at 5:30 in the afternoon. Then maybe it's back to Friday, but this time now it's 7 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock or 5 o'clock. What the fuck can keep track of this? I mean, I look at them getting 370,000 viewers as a victory on Fridays at this point. It's unbelievable. I'm pretty sure they're doing Cash Wheeler against Jay Lethal on the show. Whatever day it airs. Is it 5:30? Okay, it's 5:30 on Friday. I'm being told it is Friday. It's going to be 5:30 on Friday. Unbelievable. Well, I'll be having dinner at that time. I will not be watching Rampage. I'll be getting ready for night one of the WWE draft on SmackDown. So that's what I'll be doing on Friday night. So anyway, Jarrett and Lethal look to be the next challengers for FTR, and boy, the Acclaimed really got phased down, didn't they? Yes, indeed. So Excalibur at that point, he pitched it to Tony Khan backstage for a special announcement. This was not billed as Tony Khan has a major announcement, but they said Tony Khan would speak and he would have something to say on Dynamite this week. We didn't know if it was going to be storyline driven, if it was going to be the announcement of Saturday show, or something related to Wembley. We had no idea. So he pitched it to Tony, and Tony announced that thanks to Martha Hart and the Owen Hart Foundation, the opening ceremonies for this year's Owen Hart Cup will take place at Double or Nothing next month, May 28th, in Las Vegas. Last year, the finals of the tournaments took place at Double or Nothing. This year, the tournament is kicking off at Double or Nothing. And he said this year, the tournament is going to be held in Owen's home country of Canada. And that includes Forbidden Door, because this year's Forbidden Door pay-per-view is being held in Toronto on June 25th. So there will be Owen Hart tournament matches at Forbidden Door. The finals of both tournaments will be taking place in Owen's hometown of Calgary, Alberta, on Saturday, July 15th. Take note of that date, July 15th. It is a Saturday, which all but confirms this new television show that AEW has still not officially announced, but I feel like it's kind of the worst kept secret in wrestling at this point. So it looks like it will be on an episode of Collision, that we will be getting the finals of the Owen Hart tournaments this year. It'll be on TV and not pay-per-view. It also means no Kenny Omega in the finals. I don't know if anybody was hoping Kenny Omega might be in the Owen Hart Cup this year. He was still out injured. He could not be in the tournament last year. Now he's back and he's healthy and he's Canadian. So anybody expecting him to make it to the finals, not going to happen. Why is it not going to happen? Because July 15th is the same day that he is challenging Vikingo for the AAA Mega Heavyweight title at Triple Mania in Mexico. Can't be in two places at once. That's two different countries. So there will be no Kenny Omega in the Owen Hart finals this year. What it also means is that we're going to get New Japan involvement again in the tournament. Last year we had Tomohiro Ishii. He wrestled Adam Cole in the Owen. Adam Cole, of course, went on to win the men's tournament. Britt Baker took the win on the women's side. If I had to venture a guess, my early picks for this year, which is kind of a combination of who I think realistically I could see winning and who I also would like to win. On the men's side, Jay White, Switchblade Jay White winning the Owen, I think would be great. As far as the women's side, somebody we saw on the show tonight, who also happens to be a Canadian, and the finals happen to be in Canada, Taya Valkyrie. My early picks for the Owen would be Jay White and Taya Valkyrie. That could be her consolation prize for losing to Jade Cargill on the show here tonight. And I'll have something to say about the finish of that match when we get to that point. But look, I am glad that they are continuing the Owen. I thought that it was a very nice thing for them to do last year. I was very surprised, but also very pleased when they made the announcement that they were going to be partnering with Owen's widow and his family in doing this. Obviously, he had no connection to AEW because AEW is only fucking 4 years old, right? How could he have a connection to the company? But just honoring Owen in some way and having his family be directly involved in it, I thought was very cool. And having be something that benefits this foundation, that his wife set up in his name and in his honor. And she pretty much started the foundation not long after he passed away, and it's been going strong for all these years. So I just think that that's a very cool thing. I'm glad they're continuing it. I still do not understand the hate that the family got and AEW got last year when the announcement was made that they were even doing this tournament. There were so many people with so many hateful comments and AEW's prostituting Owen. I mean, all these fucking dumb comments from just these fucking dumb people. For the most part, though, I think people, see it for what it is, which is just a way to pay homage to someone who all these years later, he may never have been a world champion, but people know who Owen Hart is, and his name lives on through stuff like this. It's no different than the way people will honor Eddie Guerrero in WWE, no matter how much Chavo may hate it, whether it's Rey Mysterio or Sasha Banks or whoever it may be. It's cool that these people, their names and their legacies can live on in some way. And there's going to be people now who are new wrestling fans or young wrestling fans, and they wouldn't fucking know who Owen Hart was. They wouldn't know who Eddie Guerrero was. It was a long time ago. But they do, because of things like this, or because they're in the video game, or And Owen is supposed to be in Fight Forever. Owen is supposed to be on the roster for the Fight Forever video game when that game comes out in 2028. So you'll all get to play as Owen Hart. The new TNT champion, Wardlow, 3 times TNT champion, was out next with Arn Anderson for a match against the local talent who they did not name. We never got this person's name. And so we shall call him Professor X because, he's just a lot cooler that way if you call this guy Professor X. So I'll call him Professor X. It took 1 headbutt, a wind-up lariat, and a powerbomb symphony to put down Professor X. After the match, Arn Anderson got on the mic and he said, it's ironic that tomorrow is the draft. And my eyebrows perked up because I forgot what day of the week it was. Yeah, he said, and it's funny, tomorrow is the draft. And I'm like, excuse me? All I've been talking about is this fucking WWE draft. And so I had WWE draft on the brain. That draft begins on Friday. The real draft begins tomorrow. Of course, he was referring to the NFL draft. So he said, it's the NFL draft where draft picks become dynasties. He said that is what Wardlow is for, what Wardlow is for AEW, a future dynasty. He said Wardlow is going to have to fight dirty occasionally, though. He goes, Wardlow might have to pluck out an eye, bite off a thumb, hit somebody in the head with a chair. As he was talking, Christian Cage's music interrupted, and he and Luchasaurus walked down to the ring. They teased getting in. All they did was tease. They thought better of it, and they backed away, and that was the entire segment. So another tease. Wardlow, and I was paying attention to the crowd, and the crowd was kind of cold for some of the segments on this show. Not everything, but this was a quieter crowd than usual for an AEW show. But man, I'm watching Wardlow out there making his entrance, and obviously his match wasn't very long, but paying attention to the reaction that he got, and a lot more lukewarm than it used to be. And I just thought, man, imagine, think back to where we were a year ago in April of 2022. And it's just night and day. And I've said this before, but it's just, in this segment, it was noticeable. The reaction to him was noticeable. Just how hot and cold as compared to where he was 12 months ago. And, look, what do they have to do with him? Exactly what they did tonight. Get him reps on television. He just won the championship back. The worst thing they could have done is to not have him on the show at all. Send him out there every week and have him kill dudes. They don't even have to name them. I'll keep giving them names every week. This week it was Professor X. I'll give the next guy a different name too. Just send him out there, get him exposure on television, and let him fucking kill people. And then along the way, you get him involved with different programs. It looks like it's going to be Luchasaurus, Powerhouse Hobbs. Apparently is not done after all. Oh, I may as well just get to that segment now. There was a segment later in the show. We got hit with another QTV segment where QT Marshall was doing his TMZ style show, and QT is there. He's got his cafe latte in his hand. Aaron Solo is there, the rest of the crew. QT said that it had been a rough couple of weeks. He ran through some of their recent troubles. He said the worst of all was Wardlow stealing the TNT championship from Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs then stormed into the room. He pinned QT up against the wall by his throat. He was choking the guy. And QT said, look, I can't speak. You're choking me. And he pointed out, he goes, you weren't a champion until I came along and I helped you. And I promise you, we're going to get that title back. And Hobbs told QT to fix this, and he left. And Marshall told the rest of the crew that it was time for Plan B. So it appears this is not over yet between Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs and QT Marshall and the Nightmare family. So I'm thinking maybe a triple threat possibly for Double or Nothing. They have 4 weeks left to set the match up for the pay-per-view. We could be getting Wardlow, Luchasaurus, and Powerhouse Hobbs. I hope so. There's no other spot for Powerhouse Hobbs. So for the sake of getting him on the Double or Nothing card, that's probably the best thing that you could hope for, is for him to be involved in that match in some way and just do a triple threat. with all three of those guys for the TNT Championship. Sammy Guevara was in the back, being interviewed by Renee. MJF showed up, and two of them took turns kissing each other on the forehead. They were being all buddy-buddy. Sammy said the people are complaining that MJF is paying him to lay down in the main event at Double or Nothing and how it's ruining the sanctity of the sport. They said that they don't care. Sammy said that he's going to get a fat check for doing so. Well, like Kevin Nash once said, right? What is this business all about? It's about the money and the miles. That's it. That's what pro wrestling is all about. If you are a wrestler, it is about the money and the miles. He made a lot of money in his career, so they don't call him the smartest man in wrestling for nothing. Sammy presented MJF with a gift. It was a custom-made vest made to look like the one that Sammy was wearing. MJF said, well, it's funny, I have a gift of my own for you. And he presented Sammy with his own Burberry scarf. Sammy offered him a handshake, and MJF said, friends don't shake, friends hug. And the two of them hugged, and they mugged for the camera, and I wanted to gag. That led to Darby Allin against Sammy Guevara. This was not the main event of the show. Darby and Sammy in the finals of the Pillars tournament, a 2-week tournament, to decide who would challenge MJF at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Championship. MJF did commentary for the match, and he had his own custom MJF jar of Kalen and Kalen dill pickles. Take a look at this. This is going to be on sale. This is a legitimate item here. It is launching tomorrow. MJF's limited edition collectible jar series of Kalen and Kalen pickles. He offered one to Taz, who told him, well, I shouldn't because of the sodium. But he forced Taz to reach into the jar and try one anyway. And as Taz pointed out, I think I touched each pickle in the jar. Which I've had that experience before. If you try to pull a pickle out of some of these jars, sometimes they're sideways. It's fucking impossible to get those things out. You got to use a fork. You're touching all of them. You got fucking pickle juice all over your fingers. It's all fucking mess. But anyway, if you are interested in MJF's pickle, hey, some people might be. There you go. You can get your pickles tomorrow. So, MJF said that he reiterated on commentary that Sammy has to lay down for him at Double or Nothing, or the check that he gave him simply won't clear. Like, it's a pretty simple thing. Either he lays down for me or he don't get paid. Sammy spat in Darby's face, sent him out to the floor, and Guevara followed him out. He ran Darby into the ring post. A short time later, Sammy caught Darby with a low blow while shielding the referee, so the referee did not see it. And Sammy followed up with a springboard moonsault from the top rope onto Darby, heading into a picture-in-picture break. There was another spot in this match where Darby went to go do a suicide dive, and he dove through the ropes, and Sammy caught him on the way down with a picture-perfect cutter on the floor. So after the break, Sammy laid Darby across a table outside the ring. He got back inside, climbed up to the top rope, and he nailed a 630 splash through the table, through Darby and the table down below. And I saw this and I laughed because, for those who weren't following the story, I don't even know why, frankly, this was a story or some big controversy, because MJF didn't say anything wrong. But MJF tweeted and deleted, as he always does, tweets and deletes. But he tweeted something that got a lot of people talking yesterday about not taking stupid bumps, basically, and unnecessary risks if you're a wrestler. And, you know, the fans aren't the ones that are going to pay your medical bills. Be smart, be safe, get in, get out. That was basically the gist of his tweet. And then I see Sammy Guevara here, you know, doing the 630, which looks spectacular. And he's, you know, thankfully nobody got hurt. But he's doing the 630 dive to the floor through this table and just crashing through the table. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is exactly what MJF was talking about. This is exactly what he was arguing against on Twitter yesterday. And here's Sammy Guevara doing a 630 through a table outside the ring. while Dante Martin sits at home with a fucking broken ankle, probably among other things, taking a fucking destroyer through 2 stacked tables on the outside of the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I think MJF has a point. So Darby managed to beat the referee's count back into the ring. He got in just in the nick of time. MJF left the announce desk at that point, headed to ringside. Darby put Sammy down, set up for the coffin drop. Ty Conti ended up at ringside, distracted the referee. MJF tossed the skateboard that Darby rode to the ring. He tossed the skateboard to Darby, who caught it. Sammy then acted like he had been struck by the skateboard. And when referee Paul Turner turned around, he saw what he thought had happened, and Darby is trying to explain, no. And Paul Turner disqualifies Darby Allin. And the fans in the building, they booed that finish, as you would expect, right? I mean, what a fucking terrible finish. They booed this finish because this is AEW. How often do you see a disqualification in AEW? Have you seen what these referees allow to happen in this company? You could fucking shoot somebody during a match in AEW and not get disqualified. But they disqualified Darby for this. So the fans were not happy. After the match, MJF and Sammy, they attacked Darby. They were double teaming him. On commentary, though, you could hear Tony Schiavone was mumbling to himself like somebody was saying something in his ear. And Excalibur was asking him what's going on, and Tony said, wait, I'm clearly something was going on here. And Tony said that Tony Khan was talking to him in his ear. Now, Jungle Boy at this point, he makes his entrance. He comes out, and he's got a chair. He tried to help Darby to his feet after running off the heels. Darby slapped his hand away. The two of them then bickered with one another. MJF is on stage with Sammy. He's encouraging them. Oh, good. Yeah, you guys go ahead and fight, right? He's encouraging them. He said it would only make things better for him and Sammy. He told the crowd they were looking at the main event of Double or Nothing. MJF told Darby and Jungle Boy that they're going to go back to the undercard where they belong. And then Tony Schiavone stood up at the announce desk. And he got everybody's attention on the house mic. And he told MJF, he says, listen up, you prick. He said that he spoke to Tony Khan. Well, Tony Khan spoke to him. He congratulated Sammy. You got your title shot at Double or Nothing. Congratulations. He said, the problem is you may not be the only one. He said, next week on Dynamite, there's going to be a tag team match. I thought that he was channeling the spirit of Teddy Long here. It's going to be a tag team match on Dynamite next week. It's going to be MJF and Sammy Guevara as tag team partners. They're going to be taking on Jungle Boy and Darby Allin. And if MJF and Sammy win, you're absolutely right. The main event of Double or Nothing will be MJF against Sammy Guevara for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But if Darby and Jungle Boy win, it is going to be a fatal four-way for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship with the 4 pillars of the company. Everybody cheered. MJF flipped out. Sammy couldn't believe it. He flipped out. And I like it. I mean, look, it's the right call. Absolutely the right call to do the 4-way at Double, and it's going to be a 4-way. The tag team match next week, as predictable as it is, I like that they're doing this, but it's a formality. It's going to be a 4-way. It was always going to be a 4-way, clearly now. At the pay-per-view, it's the match that makes sense. How many segments have we seen with all 4 of these guys over the last several weeks? Right? The 4-way promos, this little mini tournament that they did. They're trying to, kill television time. We have a month to go before Double or Nothing. They're trying to build it up here and tell this story and drag it out as long as possible. But all 4 of these men have been featured on television. You're going to then just take 2 of them and put them in the main event? What are you going to do with the other 2? A 4-way is the only match that makes sense here. I liked it from the moment that they were first teasing it. And it looked like we were going to get a 4-way match because we've never had an AEW pay-per-view main event before like that, where we have 4 guys in this case, all young talents who really made a name for themselves in this company. I know MJF had kind of made a name for himself elsewhere in MLW and places, but he became a big star in AEW. Darby Allin, same thing. Yeah, he had been to different places before, but he made a name for himself nationally in AEW. Sammy Guevara, same thing. Jungle Boy, same thing. This is a rare pay-per-view main event where you don't have a Kenny Omega. You don't have Bryan Danielson. You don't have Jon Moxley. You don't have a former WWE guy, right? It is the four pillars of the company. And you know the match is going to be fantastic. So I like it. It's the right move to make. And look, they have to do something to fill TV time, so I don't fault them for wanting to get a tag team match out of it. Look, it's no different than what we saw in the lead up to WrestleMania with the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Everybody knew what the destination was. I knew what the destination was probably from the fucking fall. But everybody knew what the destination was. And they just kept dragging it out every week. Kevin Owens, Sammy, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Stay away from me. No. I'm not going to be your partner. I'm not going to be your friend. And yet we all know where it was headed, right? But they had 6 weeks of television left. So they tried to come up with ways to stretch it out as much as possible before we got to the obvious destination. It's no different with this. So we're going to get the tag team match next week. When they came back from break, the camera was following MJF and Sammy through the back as they were leaving the building. And MJF was cutting a heated promo into the camera as he was walking, cutting a promo on Tony Khan and the company and how they're trying to screw him out of his championship. They got to the car in the parking lot. MJF opens the back door to his luxury SUV/limo, whatever it was. And Sammy went to go climb inside with him in the back seat. And MJF stopped him and said, "Whoa, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, we're leaving." And MJF said, "Well, no, there's no room back there." And the camera guy went over and he kind of got a close-up shot, and there was nobody in the limo. Completely empty in the back seat, nobody inside. But MJF told him, no, there's no space. There's too many people in here. He goes, "I'll see you next week, buddy." He climbed in, and the car sped off. And he left poor Sammy all by himself back at the building. I guess Sammy and Ty are going to have to take an Uber back to the hotel. Up next, we had Adam Cole. Poor Adam Cole. Last time we saw him on this show last week, he was handcuffed to the bottom rope, pleading with Chris Jericho not to harm his girlfriend as Britt Baker laid there and said, Austin, help me, Austin." She was brutalized by a kendo stick, brutalized by Saraya. So Adam Cole was out for vengeance. He was not very happy. There was no Bebe this week. There was no big smile. He came to the ring, and he wanted Chris Jericho to come out. He threatened to beat him within an inch of his life. He lost patience waiting for him. He said, "Look, if you're not going to come out here, I'm going to go back there and find you." And he went to go leave the ring. Judas played. And we waited for Chris Jericho to come out. There was no Chris Jericho coming out. Instead, he appeared on the big screen. Jericho said he didn't want to be anywhere near Adam Cole, who let the love of his life take a beating last week. "I don't want to be around anybody like that." Said that while he did not want to be in the ring with Cole, his guys would. And then we saw Daniel Garcia, Jake Hager, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. They headed to the ring to attack Adam Cole. Orange Cassidy and Bandido came back out to try to help. They were quickly outnumbered. All of a sudden, we hear a Killswitch Engage song. We heard the song The End of Heartache. And there was a video on the screen with a logo. And maybe it was just me, but the logo to me looked a lot like the letters SRS. And I thought for a second, is Sean Ross Sapp about to make his AEW debut and come on down to the ring? That's what the fucking logo looked like to me. So I'm sitting here, I'm all confused. Instead, we got Roderick Strong, who's almost as good. He took out each member of the JAS with suplexes and backbreakers, and then he and Adam Cole came face to face from afar. From each end of the ring, they were staring at each other. Until finally they came in for the big embrace. Adam Cole came in, they hugged, got a big reaction from the crowd. I did not see that coming. As far as I knew, and again, as far as anybody knew, Roderick Strong was still under contract at WWE. And actually, the last time I read anything about this was late last year. And the update was, yeah, he's still under contract and he still has quite a bit of time left on that contract. There were rumors last year that he had requested his release and it was denied, which I can believe. I can believe. And maybe he'll confirm that one day when he'll be on, he'll probably be on fucking Talk is Jericho one day, or he'll do the AEW podcast, and maybe he'll be asked about that. But, we just had the members of the Dyad, the former grizzled young veterans in NXT. They requested their release, and one of them went on Twitter on Monday night during Raw and said they were denied. So they're going to wait out their contracts until they're out in October. So it wouldn't shock me if he requested his release and the company said, no, we're not going to let you go. But either they did let him go finally, or his contract ran out because he was in the fucking ring on Dynamite tonight, even though he's still listed on WWE.com on their roster. So that was quite the surprise. We have not seen this man in many, many months. The last time we saw him in the ring wrestling a match was against Apollo Crews in August on NXT. And even around that time, it felt like the Diamond Mine faction was kind of dying out, or he was kind of on the outs, it seemed like, with Diamond Mine. Diamond Mine was the last real thing for him to do. He was a dying breed on that show, just like the Johnny Garganos and the Tommaso Ciampas. He didn't fit in with that whole NXT 2.0 rebrand. All of his friends had already left. Adam Cole left, Kyle O'Reilly left, Bobby Fish left. He was the last one standing. And it just felt to me like he was a dead man walking on that brand. I could totally understand it if he wanted his release, because it felt like there was nowhere for him to go. Now, with Triple H running the creative end of things on the main roster, had they called up a Roderick Strong, let's say in the fall, he may have had a fighting chance being pushed by Triple H on the main roster. I never thought Roderick Strong was going to go anywhere on the main roster. Certainly not under a Vince McMahon main roster. I never saw any upward mobility for him at all on the main roster. Under Triple H, he may have had a fighting chance. As things turned out, probably was for the better anyway, because we all know who's really running the show up there. But he was hurt, right? I think he may have had an injury. That's why he was taken off television. So the timing of it just didn't work out. AEW is going to be the best place for him, because now they have their little undisputed reunion going on. Kyle O'Reilly is still hurt, but he'll be back in the future at some point. And you'll have 3 of the 4 members of the Undisputed Era reunited. You'll have, in my opinion, the 3 most important members of the Undisputed Era reunited on that show. Bobby Fish, he had a cup of coffee in AEW. Tony Khan, obviously, he wasn't overly impressed because he didn't fight too hard to keep Bobby Fish. And I don't know what's going on with Bobby Fish. If they want to bring him back, great. If they don't, these 3 will be just fine without him. So now Roderick Strong gets to not only be with his friends again and people that he's familiar with, he's also back in the same company with his wife, Marina Shafir. So they're working for the same employer again. And also, we have Ring of Honor. And Tony Khan just relaunched the Ring of Honor brand. Roderick Strong is part of the heart and soul of the original Ring of Honor. I mean, he was with that company up until, what was it, 2016? Pretty much right from the very beginning. He spent a good 15 or so years of his career, give or take. Won every championship, I believe, that there was to possibly win in Ring of Honor. He was one of the OGs of that company. And now, Ring of Honor is back, and it would certainly make sense at some point to see him back on that brand. They just brought back Nigel McGuinness to be on commentary in Ring of Honor, and they've got Claudio, and they've got Mark Briscoe, and they've got Samoa Joe. So yeah, I would expect Roderick Strong will be back on that brand, even if it's just for a few appearances at some point. So there just seems to be a lot of different things that they could do with him. He's not going to be in the upper echelon of guys on that roster, but he's a solid hand, I think, for Tony Khan to have. And it is official. We all know it's never official until we get the graphic, but for those of you wondering, is it official? Yeah, it's official. This is not a one-off. Roderick Strong is all elite. Tony Khan got the graphic up as soon as the segment was over. So there you go. That was the big surprise tonight. Roderick Strong back on television in all elite wrestling. Jade Cargill 55-0, defending her TBS championship on TNT? No, on TBS. It is TBS, right? Okay. I forgot which network this show was on. So, a rare occasion where the TBS championship was actually defended on TBS. Tonight it was against Taya Valkyrie. And the stipulation for this match was that since they used the same finishing move, Jade has the Jaded, or just Jaded. Taya has the same move, only she calls it the Road to Sarah Logan, or Valhalla, I'm sorry. But the stipulation for this match was that Taya could not use the Road to Valhalla. She was not allowed to. She was barred. Per smart Mark Sterling, she cannot use Jade's finishing move. If she did, she would be disqualified and she would not win the championship. Now, I want you to keep that in mind here, especially for when I get to the finish of this match. We got a spot where Jade superplexed Taya and then followed that up with a Canadian Destroyer for a near fall. See, she's learning. She's learning all the key spots here. Taya set up for the Road to Valhalla, but smart Mark Sterling and the referee told her she can't do it. And Taya released Jade, who then rolled her into a pin to retain the title. After the match, a very frustrated Taya Valkyrie grabbed Aubrey Edwards and set her up for the Road to Valhalla. And all of a sudden, the crowd came alive. They wanted to see the Taya Valkyrie lay out Aubrey Edwards, and other referees came out to talk her down and to stop her, and the fans seemed disappointed by this. This did Taya no favors. It's actually a shame because I thought these two work well together. But this did Taya no favors at all whatsoever because Taya is the veteran. I don't know how many years she's been doing this, but she's been doing this a lot longer than Jade has, right? And she's worked all over the world. From the US to Canada to Mexico, she's been all over the place, right? She is the veteran. She should know better. She came into this match knowing full well the stipulation that if you use your move, you are going to be disqualified. You will not become the TBS champion, right? She knew this. She knew this going into the match. And then she goes and she tries to use the move anyway. And they're like, no, you can't do it. And then Jade gets the slip through and she gets the pinfall win. And you know, she's all shocked, Taya is. Why? You knew the stipulation going into the match. This made her look like such a fucking fool. They made her look like such an airhead with this finish. So not only is bad enough, you know, you lose a match, but I just think to lose a match in the way that she, you know, lost this match here, she looked like a clueless idiot, which doesn't make me, frankly, want to see this match any more than maybe I already did. It's not like, oh man, she really got screwed. I can't wait to see the match. No, she fucking lost, and she's got nobody to blame for her but herself. Now, I would like to see these two back in the ring together, just based off the work, because Jade in the ring with certain people, some she's better with than others. These two I felt like clicked pretty good together. I thought the chemistry they had was pretty good. One of the better Jade matches I've seen. And so for that reason, I would not mind seeing these two back in the ring, run it back one more time, which I think they're going to do. I think they're setting up for a rematch at Double or Nothing next month. But that finish certainly did not do anything to make me want to see this again. That finish made Taya look very, very dumb. Now, at this point in the show, Excalibur announced matches for Rampage and Dynamite next week, and I didn't get any of it because they had him talking faster than I have ever heard him talking before. He sounded like he was going to have a stroke. And I don't know. I guess they're amused by this. The announcers were always giving him like a nice job, pal, at the end of this and everything else. And maybe they think it's funny. You know what? If he was announcing something important, he would slow down and let people hear it. I don't know what he said. I don't give a shit. So I'm moving on. Main event of the show was Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita tagging for the very first time, taking on the Butcher and the Blade with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford in their corner. Why? I assume I need to watch Rampage to find out why, but I'll be fucking damned if I know. But yes, the Butcher and the Blade headlining Dynamite tonight. Bryan Danielson joined on commentary before the break. And he called Takeshita ungrateful for everything that Danielson had done for him, as apparently he wants to associate with amateurs. Omega teased the Terminator dive early in the match, but he got tripped up by Kip Sabian. And Penelope Ford shielded her husband to allow Butcher to wipe out Omega on the floor. Sabian was able to get in a shot, as Butcher and Blade, they kept Omega isolated during the final picture-in-picture. Some fans tried to start a CM Punk chant. I don't know how many of you heard that during this main event here. They were trying to anyway. And they got drowned out by boos from other fans in the crowd, so it did not work. Omega was able to plant the Blade with a Kitaro Crusher. As Takeshita made the hot tag, he ran wild. He dropped the Butcher with a Takeshita line and a few haluva kicks. Takeshita connected with a brainbuster on the Butcher, but the Blade broke things up to allow a stunner lariat combination. Butcher and Blade tried to do something here too. I think it was Omega, but that led to Takeshita dropping Butcher with a Blue Thunder Bomb for a 2 count. Takeshita hit a jumping knee on Blade. Omega followed with a Snapdragon and a dive to the floor on Kip Sabian and the Blade. And Takeshita hit the charging knee strike on the Butcher to pick up the win for his team. After the match, Bryan Danielson got on the mic, and he said that the real wrestler got the pin in this match. He said the other member of the team was living off the legacy he built in Japan. He said that if Takeshita trained with the Blackpool Combat Club, and he misspoke at this point, and the fans let him have it, so he got kind of angry and tried to continue his promo by shouting over them because they were heckling him for fucking up the promo. But he said if Takeshita trained with the Blackpool Combat Club, he would be a world beater. Danielson said that if Takeshita trained with the Elite, he would be like Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa and would be washing you guys in the shower. He's not wrong. Or if he was like Brandon Cutler, he would just be tweeting stupid shit online. Jon Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, they attacked Omega from behind. They cleared Takeshita from the ring. Danielson wanted Moxley to finish the job. He handed him a screwdriver. The Young Bucks song played. They came out. Didn't get a great reaction, it sounded like. I mean, maybe it was different in the building, but it sounded like there was some boos there. And Young Bucks came out. Claudio ran to the stage. He ate a double super kick. Yuta ran over. He got a double super kick for his troubles. In the ring, Omega put Moxley down with a Snapdragon. Bucks got in. They double super kicked Moxley. Danielson then encouraged Takeshita to get in the ring. Get in the ring because he was pointing out that Omega had the screwdriver. And before Omega could use the screwdriver on Jon Moxley, Takeshita got in the ring and he blocked his path. And he said, no. And he stopped him from doing so. And that gave Yuta and Claudio time to pull the Bucks out to ringside. The cameras nearly missed, or the cameras pretty much missed, Moxley shoving Takeshita into Omega, and then both of them went down. Once the Elite got cleared from the ring, the Blackpool Combat Club crew, they raised the arms of Takeshita in the ring. And Takeshita then put his arms down. He said no. Danielson told Takeshita to think about what you're doing, and he said, you should want to be with us. You should want to be with the Blackpool Combat Club. As that was happening, Wheeler Yuta comes up from behind Takeshita. He drops down, delivers a low blow. Danielson said Takeshita made his choice. Claudio and Yuta held him. Moxley jabbed him in the head with a screwdriver. And they got the camera off Takeshita for a while so that he could blade. So at least they're learning not to show it on camera. But when they cut back to Takeshita, he was bleeding from the head, and Blackpool Combat Club left the ring. The Elite got back inside to check on Takeshita as they went off the air. I can't get too excited for a Butcher and Blade. All due respect to the Butcher and the Blade. This is the main event of the show. So I can't get too excited for a Butcher and Blade main event. But really, this was about furthering the story post-match and just the kind of novelty of seeing Omega and Takeshita as tag team partners for the first time, which was kind of cool. But again, it furthered the story between the two factions. It also solidified Takeshita's position as an ally of the Elite and not the Blackpool Combat Club, unless it's all swerve. I put nothing past Don Callis and storyline, right? The guy can't be trusted. So I'm just saying, it is still possible. It is still possible that they're going to pull the wool over our eyes, and Callis and Takeshita will end up linking up with the Blackpool Combat Club. But for now, they made the man bleed. It does not look like that is the direction they're going to go in. So if that's the case, then let's say Takeshita is going to be sticking with the Elite guys. It could be a situation where we're going into the pay-per-view, right? Everyone is talking about Blood and Guts, right? Blood and Guts is not happening most likely at the pay-per-view. Blood and Guts has traditionally the last 2 years been a television gimmick. And last year, it didn't even happen until after Forbidden Door. So we're probably in all honesty, we're probably a good 3.5 months, maybe a little over 3 months away, probably early July. Early to mid-July is when we may see Blood and Guts, if last year is anything to follow. So there'll be an initial match first. And in the initial match, it will probably be Takeshita, Hangman Page, the Bucks, and Omega. Oh, actually, I take that back. They could do 4-on-4 and not have to worry about finding a fifth guy on either side. You can get away with doing a 4-on-4 initially. If you want to do a 5-on-5, for Blood and Guts, that's where you get into this whole thing where maybe there's a swerve. Maybe before all is over here and we get to Blood and Guts, there is a turn. And there is a turn with Don Callis and Takeshita going to the other side. It is still possible they could do that, and Hangman comes back, and Kota Ibushi comes in. Ibushi's certainly been talking a lot about wanting to have a meeting with Tony Khan. I'm sure Kenny Omega is talking him up to his boss big time, right? I'm sure they all want him to come in. So it just seems to me like whatever they may do at Double or Nothing doesn't necessarily reflect the type of match that we will end up seeing for Blood and Guts as far as who's on what side. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's how the show went off the air. Overall, I thought I enjoyed more on this show than not. So for me, the show was a thumbs up. Again, not the most excitable crowd that they've performed in front of. Usually the other thing with AEW, they have a lot of hot crowds. I wouldn't say that was necessarily the case tonight, but I enjoyed the show. And overall, well, got a better score than Raw did this week. 58.7% thumbs up, which for Dynamite is not a great score, but it is the best score of the week so far. I guess we'll wait until Friday to see if that changes, but just shy of 60% thumbs up for the Dynamite show tonight, 24% thumbs in the middle, and 17.3% thumbs down. With over 800 votes in so far at Solomonster, go ahead and let your voice be heard. What did you think of this show here tonight? Crowd was kind of mid, says Marquise in the chat. Yeah, the crowd was kind of mid. But which reminds me, we have night 1 of the draft on Friday. They're going to be in Corpus Christi. See if Corpus Christi can kind of prove me wrong. Maybe we'll get a hot crowd on Friday for a change. Yeah, a run-of-the-mill episode. I would concur with that. This was not a blow-away episode by any means, but I didn't hate it. Let's check your super chats here. We have Matthew. He is going to be the first one here with the $4. It says a birthday buy or sell. Happy birthday to Matthew. Everybody in the chat wish Matthew a happy birthday. Buy or sell. The Alliance to end Hulkamania from 1996 or the Alliance to end the WWF in 2001. They both sucked, but I will go with I will buy on the Alliance to end the WWF. I will never buy on the Alliance to end Hulkamania. That stuff was just fucking hot garbage. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Tiffany Stratton, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, Braun Breaker. Stars of NXT Spring Breakin' have cured my fickle cell virus yesterday. Yeah, they had their spring break-in show last night, and I will be talking about that on the podcast on Sunday. Apparently, there were quite a number of injuries coming out of that show, from Indy Hartwell to Carmelo Hayes. There was a third injury. I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't remember. But I believe there were at least 3 injuries coming out of that show. He also says, I already made my choice what to watch on May 28th. Everyone here already knows the answer. So there you go. Mr. Hypercam, unregistered Hypercam 2, says, Darby takes insane bumps but rarely bleeds. It is weird. I think it's because he has no blood in his body. He is simply a corpse. That's why his face is painted up like a skeleton. He's got no blood inside. J-Ray with the $5. According to Fight TV, Dark Elevation is coming to an end. Dark will be next as they prepare to split rosters for Dynamite and Collision come June. I've heard nothing about Dark. As far as I know, Dark is staying right where it is. But there's no need for Dark and Dark Elevation. You got another show coming, you get rid of Dark Elevation. Just have Dark. You don't need Dark Elevation. Samoan Fan 101, I predict Ryback gets MJF at Double or Nothing. Well, I certainly hope you are wrong about that. It is funny, though, you know, how Ryback over the years has said so much about where should he go, where's he going to land. He hasn't worked anywhere. Hasn't worked anywhere since he left WWE. El Ruinero. At the rate that Orange Cassidy is going, I hope he hits us with the Forrest Gump, I'm pretty tired, I think I'll go home now. We've got unregistered Hypercam 2 again. I'm convinced that Tony Khan has Excalibur read cards out so fast because it cracks him up. That, or he's depressed that the Micro Machines guy will not take it off. Is the Micro Machines guy alive? I thought maybe he passed away. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody, I don't remember the guy's name, but if somebody can check that out. I thought I heard something about him passing away a number of years ago. Linklex 7 Jade segments really are the bathroom break of AEW. Ghostros123 with the $10 super chat. If you woke up tomorrow with Shad Khan money, would you rather A, invest in an already existing wrestling company and take it to new heights, or B, start your own with unknown talent? I'm going with option C. If I had Shad Khan money, I would not be running a wrestling company. Because I ain't no fool. And I don't like to lose money. So I'm going with option C. I'm smart. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling. I've been loving Sound of Gamer. Too bad the Fink cannot announce you as Sal O the Monster. Yeah, you know, again, it's one of the stupidest things, because when you create a character in the game, you go through this whole process. You can create, you know, names and nicknames, and you can pick features down to like the fucking eyelashes on your created wrestler. In the list of words, when you're selecting the nicknames, they have all kinds of words and nicknames and terms, and you would think that they would have monster in there, but no, they have the monster. So you can pick the monster, but you can't just pick monster. So I'm putting words together, and the best I can do to try to replicate my name is to call myself Sal O the Monster. Every time I come to the ring, I am announced as Sal O the Monster. I sound absolutely ridiculous. How do you have the monster and not just the word monster? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's the stupidest thing. So now it's Sal O the Monster. What can you do? Nothing that can be done. Eric Deshawn says, I can't be the only one that thinks Jericho looks like a Wish version of Steven Tyler. Tuxedo T Servo, thank you for the $10. Nick Grasso. What's going on, Nick, with the 1999? Not crazy about the Butcher and the Blade main eventing. I think Guevara and Darby should have been the main event. shocked that Roderick Strong came out tonight, and does this lead to Kyle O'Reilly returning soon? As soon as Kyle O'Reilly is cleared, he will be back, and he will be with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. It is just down to when he can get cleared. I know he had some complications coming out of his previous surgery. I think it was neck surgery. And that was very frustrating for him. He posted some stuff about that a few months ago on Instagram. So it depends what kind of setbacks, that he's had in his recovery. As soon as he's cleared, though, he's going to be back on TV with those two. Not a doubt in my mind. Nothing else would make sense. You got to put them back together. Clone Force 99. What's up, Solomonster? You're one of the best podcasts. One of. Says, I hope these new lawsuits destroy Vince, and hopefully more come out to destroy him. I don't know. He's been sued plenty of times, and he's like fucking Michael Myers. He's still around, so I wouldn't hold my breath. Lady Fire Panda with a $21 super chat. No Racing Queen. That's it. Solomonster officially hates us. Well, you're gonna hate me even more when I tell you that I cannot use it anymore. So, not unless I want them to just make every video I use it in ineligible for ads. So, there's different copyright issues now, and it just cannot be used. So, otherwise you would hear it every week. But we have to move on and find other tunes. Unfortunately, I will try to work around it if I can, but for now we have to put it on the back burner. It's not my fault. Deontay Soignier with the $10. What a show. That is what I love to see. Storytelling, fun matches, great times. Solomonster as always. Thank you. You are Solomonster. Much love, brother. Side note, Happy Sky Blue is signed. So Deontay was a very big fan of the show. Jacob Donnelly. My Boston Bruins are chokers, but Dynamite was solid, and your stream always puts me in a better mood. No matter what happens with the Bruins or whoever your favorite team might be, you always know that you have a place here on this channel, and I'm always going to come through for you in the end. So. You always got Solomonster to look forward to. Deontay says, also, sir, that is a great, lovely jacket. It's a hoodie, but yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I very much appreciate that. It is something that I saw, caught my eye, and I said, I gotta have that. I like the color. Terrence Toussaint with the $4.99. What a night. Knicks send the Cavs packing, and Solomonster keeps me up to date with AEW. Keep up the great work. That's right, the Knicks are moving on. How far will they go? That's the question. How far will the Knicks go? Will the Knicks go all the way? They haven't gone all the way in a very long time. Neither of the Mets, by the way. We've had a lot of pain here in New York. We've had far too much pain. Hey, look, it's Jarrett Kogan. It's Jarrett Kogan, everybody. Rodimus Prime, $5 super chat. Roderick Strong is in AEW. That is something I was not expecting, but I am definitely here for. Winston Smith. What is the best match of Big Show's career? Ooh. The best match of Big Show's career. He had a good match once with Sheamus. And I don't remember what pay-per-view it was. I think it was an October pay-per-view. Maybe it was Hell in a Cell. It wasn't a Hell in a Cell match, but it might have been the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I remember that being a pretty good one. Man, I don't know. He was part of that triple threat hardcore match at WrestleMania 17. That was kind of fun. I don't know what I would consider to be the best Big Show match I've ever seen. I don't think I have a best Big Show. Yeah, I don't know. But those are some of the better ones, though, that I can tell you off the top of my head. Oh, you know what? That's right. Somebody mentioned Del Rio in the chat. There was a last man standing match that he had on SmackDown. It was like early in the year. It might have been like the first SmackDown of the year, whatever year it was. I don't remember. I remember that being pretty damn good, actually. I think it was a last man standing stipulation. It might have had a finish where I think Del Rio duct taped Big Show's feet together or something for the finish so he couldn't get up. It was some finish like that. I remember that being really good. Maybe that one. Big Show versus Big Boss Man. Look, that feud is a guilty pleasure of mine, but that match they had at Armageddon was fucking dog shit, okay? The entire match lasted maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and 85% of it was Big Show laying on the floor outside. So, I'm trying to think if there's any other Big Show. Man, you know what? I do have another one. In addition to the Del Rio one. Big Show and Brock Lesnar had a stretcher match at Judgment Day. I guess it would have been 2003. And it was the goofy stipulation where I think you have to push get the guy on the stretcher and I think push it over the line or something. He got Big Show, I think, on a forklift and lifted him up into the air and drove the forklift down the aisle over the line. So it was kind of goofy. That was also a very good match. That was the best Brock and Big Show match I've ever seen. There was a triple threat, maybe Vengeance one year or something. It might have been Brock, Big Show, and Kurt Angle. See, now they're starting. My brain sometimes, it's kind of like a car, like in the winter, where you gotta let the car engine run a little bit, warm it up a little bit, and then it starts to operate. So now some of these matches are starting to come to me here. So yeah, those are the ones I would put on my list, I would say. Let's see. We've got M Sun. If Orange Cassidy loses the belt, does the backpack go as well? Yeah. I mean, what else is he going to put in the backpack? He uses it because he got the belt in there. If he's not carrying the belt, there's no need for the backpack. Arabian Night. Do you think Roman will unveil a new WWE title at his 1,000-day ceremony, or should that be Cody after SummerSlam and he unveils a modern Winged Eagle-esque belt? Unfortunately, I think we need to put the Winged Eagle stuff to bed. As much as I'd love to see it, I got it over my shoulder, right? I will always have love in my heart for the Winged Eagle. We got to let the eagle soar. It's not going to happen. As far as the ceremony, obviously when Roman hits 1,000 days, they're going to do something special. Whether it's the night that he hits 1,000, which would, I think, be at Night of Champions, or on television that week. They're going to have some kind of ceremony for him, as they should. I mean, if he hits 1,000 days, then you should celebrate. But as far as the Cody winning the belt and bringing back the Winged Eagle, I know Cody wants to. I would be very surprised if we see the return of the Winged Eagle. It wouldn't be the Winged Eagle anyway. It would be like the eagle with a giant W in it. It's not going to be the same. God of Seduction, thank you for the super chat. Rizzo, $5, thank you so much. No spoilers, so all I will say is for Naomi, good AEW show, and I don't know how it didn't leak out that Roderick Strong was done in WWE. That's the most surprising thing to me, that it didn't leak. When I heard the Kill Switch Engage music, it just never occurred to me until I actually saw him come out. And I was like, wow. That was certainly out of left field. BW Rosa, Solomonster, thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring Season 4 episodes. Talked about that on the podcast the last 2 weeks. There were a couple of episodes that were not in the original rumored lineup that I know came out this week. One is on the Graham family, which honestly, if you think about it, I mean, to me, it's the second most tragic wrestling family behind only the Von Erichs. I mean, the Hart family's had a lot of tragedy too, but to me, number 2 is the Graham family. I mean, that family seemed predisposed to suicide. And the other one is Bash at the Beach 2000. They're dedicating an entire episode to the Bash at the Beach 2000 episode. And all I know about that is that that means we are getting more Russo this season on Dark Side of the Ring. So, I can't say I'm a huge fan of that. Arabian Night, Edge said that he has 1 year left. Who would you want him to face in the summer and at WrestleMania 40? What about Kevin Owens at SummerSlam and Braun Breaker at WrestleMania 2? Retire him. I would rather Braun Breaker retire Goldberg. Goldberg wants a retirement match? Let Braun Breaker be the one to retire him. Yeah, Edge said that he thinks he's got one real kind of elite year left in him as a top guy. And Kevin Owens and Edge is a match that just makes far too much sense for me. Even if Owens is still a babyface and Edge is a babyface, I think Owens and Edge has to happen at some point. I wouldn't mind that being the last match that he has, to be honest with you. So, Kevin Owens is one. As far as who that second person would be, I mean, look, ideally you would want it to be somebody on the younger side who would benefit by getting a win over Edge. So, as much as I would love to see Edge and LA Knight, LA Knight is 40. So, is that the best way to be using Edge, is to have him, let's say, lose to an LA Knight? Probably not. Even though that's a match I'd like to see. If they were to use one of the younger stars, it wouldn't be Braun. I don't know who the best person would be for the actual final kind of, retirement match for Edge. I like the idea of Owens being his last big opponent. To be honest with you, I mean, that's a match I thought that they would do at WrestleMania last year. So, I don't know. Edge and Owens for sure. Beyond that, I'd have to take a look at the roster. I don't have the roster in front of me. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. The idea of like a Grayson Waller, I mean, that doesn't really excite me. But, Owens for sure. Owens and Edge. It's hard to believe, Edge has been back since 2020. And I don't think there's been any sort of interaction between them. So, yeah, I would definitely go for that match. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Imagine if Excalibur was speed reading while Vince McMahon was running the show. Also, Arabian Night says, where is Santana? Do you think he has untapped potential? I do. I think he has untapped potential as a single star. But where he is, he's recovering from a torn ACL. Clone Force, Sammy, KO will win on Friday. That's right, we're getting the WrestleMania rematch on Friday night for the tag team titles. That'll be on Draft Night 1. Joseph Brooks with the $9.99. Would you say that The Rock's one and only match with Eddie Guerrero is his greatest match from a wrestling standard? Also, what would you have liked to have seen more of an extended program with Eddie or a program with Ray? It's hard for me to say that that's The Rock's best match from a wrestling perspective. It was a television match. I remember the spot where Eddie countered out of the Rock Bottom. I thought that was great. But Rock had a lot of great matches with a lot of different people. Whether the matches with Austin, I guess those were more brawling type matches. But no, I mean, Rock had some tremendous matches with Chris Jericho. Rock and Jericho in 2001 into the beginning of 2002 at the Royal Rumble had some great matches together. I was at one of those matches. They changed the WCW title, I think, back from Jericho to The Rock on the show that I went to. See, the first match they did for the WCW title, I believe was at, oh God, what pay-per-view was that? No Mercy, maybe? I don't remember exactly what show it was, but they had a second match that was on TV. I was at that one. And then they had the Royal Rumble match in 2002. And I remember all their matches being very good. Rock and Kurt Angle. So no, I wouldn't say that Rock and Eddie had the best Rock match from a wrestling perspective. Rock and Jericho, Rock and Angle, Rock and Benoit. Rock and Benoit had some good ones. Fully Loaded 2000, Rock and Benoit. That was a great match. And so the second half of your question, would I have preferred more of an extended program with Eddie or Ray against Rock? Ray against Rock would have been fun. Yeah, I think Ray against Rock would have been a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Just in terms of the actual matches. But see, Ray against Hollywood Rock, that's what they should have done. The problem is Rock wasn't around long enough by the time Ray came in. Ray only came in 2002. Rock was already part-time by that point. So if they would have done Hollywood Rock and Rey Mysterio, that would have been a lot of fun. BW says, WWE 2K did a patch today. Also, what console do you play? I do all the 2K23 stuff, all the video game stuff on Steam on my laptop. I don't own any consoles. I don't have an Xbox. I don't have a PlayStation 5 or 4 or 3. I have a PS1 somewhere. So no, I play on the computer. That makes it easier for me to then record and stream the content. He also says, how is the Hog commissioner job going so far for you? Man, I'll tell you, it's a hard job. Nobody told me how hard that job was going to be and how much verbal abuse I would take. But it's going well. It's going well. I'm very proud that we are bringing in Matt Cardona for our next show to challenge Jacob Fatu for the House of Glory World Championship. You know, we've been bringing in a lot of top-name talent to try to take that title from Fatu. People have been trying. We had Fred Rosser try. We had Willie Mack try. Now we're going to have Cardona in a few weeks. We're bringing in the Motor City Machine Guns. It is a great honor to be able to have a hand in bringing in talent like this. So I am enjoying it so far, but it's certainly not an easy gig. God of Seduction, thank you for the super chat. Nick Grasso says, what is your reaction to Naomi signing with Impact Wrestling? Well, so much for the spoiler tag before. What is your reaction to Naomi signing with Impact Wrestling? I'll give you the short version. I think it's a good move for her. I think that there are a lot of very talented women right now in that Impact Women's division. And it's funny, you know, I just got asked a question about being the commissioner for House of Glory. You know, we have had some of the ladies from that Knockouts division come in to House of Glory to challenge for our women's championship. And we've had people, I mean, look, we had Tasha Steelz. It's funny because Tasha Steelz has been working for a while in Impact. Well, one of the earlier matches I ever called was her match in House of Glory, where she used to work before she eventually went on to join the Impact roster. Naomi is going to go there, apparently. That's the report. They have people from Mickie James to Deonna Purrazzo to Masha Slamovich to Killer Kelly, Rosemary. I mean, there's a lot of talented women in that division for her to work with. And I think all of the attention since she and Sasha left WWE has pretty much been on Sasha, right? And she just had that great match with Mayu at the Stardom show. She's going to be at the New Japan Resurgence show next month, possibly in a rematch with Mayu. That'll be on May 21st. Everyone's talking about Mercedes. Nobody's been talking about Trinity. This is a chance for her to go somewhere where she can have quality female talent to get in the ring with and show people what she can do. And that it's more than just feel the glow, right? So instead of people just talking about Mercedes, she has a chance to go in there and say, hey, you know what? I'm pretty good too. Let me show you what I can do. And go out there and have some kick-ass matches. And then after that, she builds herself back up because she's been gone for a year. Who knows where she may end up? AEW may want to grab her. WWE may say, hey, you know what? We might want to get you back. So I think for her, it's a positive move. She's going to have a lot of great talent to get in the ring and work with. Jordan Grace, that's right. Jordan Grace is another one. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. The Usos dedicating their match to Roman on Friday is telling me that they will be destroyed. My theory, even though he isn't advertised, I think it happens at Backlash. Usos lose again. And he has a second super chat here. Roman and Solo come out, and Roman shoots. So I didn't know where that super chat was going. He said Roman shoots Solo. And I stopped reading for a second. I said, that's kind of extreme. That's for Extreme Rules. That's not for Backlash. Roman shoots Solo a look, and they destroy the Usos, which then sets the Usos up for a return at SummerSlam to cost Roman the title. I do a lot of thinking at work. I can tell you put a lot of thought into that. I don't see that happening, but I mean, it's not an impossible scenario to envision. I just don't see them keeping the Usos out for a period of months. I think Jay at least will factor into Money in the Bank. Arabian Night, do you think Jade would benefit from being in NXT to learn more? Look, I mean, Jade has been learning from Bryan Danielson. She's been having one-on-one training behind the scenes with Bryan Danielson for many months. I mean, you're not going to find too many people better than the American Dragon to learn wrestling from. Had she come up through the WWE system, she would have had the benefit of the NXT coaching system there. But WWE has a very particular way they teach, their talent. It isn't necessarily the best way. But I also look at the pipeline of female talent they have right now in NXT, and it's plenty big. They have a lot of real talented women coming up in that developmental system right now. So Jade would have benefited, I think, from coming through a system like that. Right now, the only system she has is Bryan Danielson, right? She never went to wrestling school. She never had what you would consider traditional wrestling training. It's almost like training on the job, but she looked the part. She's someone you look at and go, okay, she looks like a star. She looks like she's somebody. She has such a unique look. She looks like a superstar. So you start with that, but now you've got to kind of fill it all in and teach her how to get in the ring and take bumps and do moves and learn the psychology of it, and that takes time. But she got pushed way too soon, way too fast, and it's like, all right, now we're just going to play catch up here. And I think she's doing a decent job. It's just, you just got to have patience. She's like a pet project. It takes more than a few months to teach somebody who isn't used to doing this. BW says, surprisingly, JYD and Doink are getting Dark Side of the Ring episodes. I don't know what's so surprising about that at all. JYD had a lot of success in the wrestling business, and he pissed it all away, with drugs. He had a lot of demons, and I'm sure there are people like Jim Ross who were around him in Mid-South who will talk about that in the episode. Even the way he died was tragic. Dying in a car accident on the way back from his daughter's high school graduation. As far as Doink, yeah, it was weird that they listed it as Doink the Clown and not Matt Bourne. Like, I can't imagine it's going to be an episode on just Doink the Clown. There were multiple people who were Doink the Clown. I don't think anybody gives a fuck, all due respect to Ray Apollo, who I'm sure is a nice chap. Nobody really cares about Ray Apollo, so I'm sure it's about Matt Bourne. And I know there was a statutory rape allegation against Matt Bourne, or a charge against him many years ago. So he's not exactly squeaky clean himself. So it kind of fits the theme of Dark Side of the Ring. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. We've got... Oh, Jesus Christ. Kenny Williams in the chat said, rest in peace, JD. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And then I think he meant JYD. Jesus Christ. Rizzo says, Roman and Solo come out. Oh, I already read that. See, Rizzo, your idea is so great, I started reading it twice. Joseph Brooks. Would you say that Y2J is an underrated rival for The Rock? He can match The Rock on the mic. He had catchphrases like The Rock. If I remember correctly, Y2J has a lot of big wins against The Rock. He beat Rock and Stone Cold in the same night to become undisputed champion, of course. He beat Rock for the WCW title in WWE. They still called it the WCW title. I don't think he's an underrated rival at all. I don't think Chris Jericho is underrated in any way. I think he's one of the better rivals that Rock ever had. I would not say that he is underrated. Who is underrating Chris Jericho as a rival of The Rock? Like, he's not the best rival of The Rock, right? That would be Triple H, Mankind, Stone Cold. There's a lot of people that you would put ahead of Jericho, but Jericho is on the list of great rivals for The Rock. And to think, you have a whole generation now of like younger fans who you ask that same question, and you know who they would put in the number one spot? Not Steve Austin. Not Triple H. John Cena. It's a generational thing, you know? Rizzo says, Nick. Oh, yeah. I said so much for your spoiler tag earlier. Nick just went for it, man. He didn't care. The Yatagaratsu. Beast on the Tracks. Thank you for the $5. What were your top 3 PS1 games? Die Hard, Die Hard, and Die Hard. That was my favorite game. I don't remember if it was a 3-in-1 or not. I think it was just the original. But I had so much fun playing Die Hard. I had so much fun playing Driver. Man, those were the days, man. Arabian Night, my point earlier about Edge, what about Gunther at WrestleMania? No, I really don't have any interest in that. I would much rather see Gunther challenging for a championship than working a match against Edge. I feel like Edge is also just at the point where a couple of chops from Gunther will just kind of break him in half at this point, you know? I don't know. There's other people I think that Gunther would be better off being in the ring with at WrestleMania. As big of a star as Edge is, and I mean, you know, he's a Hall of Famer, I get that, but Edge is not at the top of my list of kind of dream opponents for Gunther at WrestleMania. So the goal tonight for Be the Booker, I set a modest goal of 400, and we are nearing 500, so thank you for that. Keep hitting the thumbs up button because it does help out the video. Gets us into the recommendeds here on YouTube, which is always cool to bring in some new viewers. But for now, it is time to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
We did some Be the Booker on Monday. Now it is time for the Wednesday edition. We wipe the slate clean, we start all over again, and we try to book ourselves some big-time matches. I got some big matches to promote. And for big matches, we need big stars. Like this man, Keith Lee. Limitless Keith Lee. Perhaps one day we'll be the AEW World Champion. What do you think? What do you think? You see Keith Lee as an AEW World Champion? Maybe a TNT Champion? Keith Lee going to go one-on-one with... Oh, my God. It's like Shane McMahon had a little too much Taco Bell in this image here. Poor Shane. I saw Shane is already back in the gym. He's training to make his big comeback. The big Shane McMahon comeback from the torn quad is underway. You know he's going to come back. They're going to make a big deal about it. Maybe they'll give him a YouTube video like they did Triple H all those years ago. Yeah, it's too bad because Keith Lee and Shane McMahon, if Shane was, 15 years younger, that would have been a fun match. Keith Lee throwing around Shane McMahon. Shane trying to run away from Keith Lee. Today, unfortunately, not so much. All right, so on the ladies' side, enough of that. Enough of Shane McMahon. We begin with Melina, the former WWE Women's Champion. Melina. I heard that there was an issue recently. Melina got kicked out of an event of some kind. I didn't get the full story on that, but apparently it was some kind of event or convention or signing or something, and I think she was either kicked out or she was asked to leave. I don't know what happened. But it was Melina going to go one-on-one here with Carmella. Not on my show. Melina against Carmella. Not the match that I would book for my show. Not a good start here for Be the Booker. So let's go to the tag team side. A lot of great tag teams, old school tag teams, new school tag teams. We kick off with Tyson Kidd and Claudio, or shall I say Cesaro, the former Raw Tag Team Champions. They actually were a very good team. Talk about underrated teams, I would put them on that list. Until the unfortunate injury to Tyson Kidd, they had a good thing going there for a while. Cesaro and Tyson Kidd against Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, RK Bro. It's a great match, man. That's a great tag team match. Randy Orton and Matt Riddle against Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. Put those guys in the ring for the Raw Tag Team titles. You got yourself one hell of a tag team match. 1 out of 3 is never a good score, but at least we got the one. I'll take it. I'll take it. If 1 is all we get, at least we made it a good one. Final super chats here. Frankie Rodriguez, thank you for the $4.99, brother. I appreciate that very much. Just left the show tonight. What an awesome show and an awesome crowd. An awesome crowd. I hope it picked up like that on TV. Well, the reason I laugh, Frankie, is because it did not, to me, come across that way for the entire show. For parts of the show, maybe, but I don't know. I didn't feel like it translated that way on television. But I'm glad that in the building, though, it came across that way, and it was loud. Rizzo, I am a big fan of Melina's flexibility. Aren't we all? You know, Melina took one of the greatest sharpshooters that I've ever seen. Better than any sharpshooter I've ever seen Bret Hart deliver. Natty and Melina had a match. I forgot the pay-per-view. It might have been a Royal Rumble one year. I don't remember. But Natty put her in a sharpshooter, and because Melina is so flexible, she went all the way back. And it looked brutal. That's still probably the best sharpshooter I've ever seen. And we got Arabian Night. Bigger what if? Velveteen Dream or Tessa Blanchard? Ooh. Gotta go Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream is somebody who I could have seen in the main event of WrestleMania in the next 5 years. Just pissed it all away. To be honest with you, Tessa Blanchard is somebody who would have been in the WrestleMania main event. Maybe it would have been like a night 1 main event. But I always thought one day, man, it's going to be the Battle of the Horsewomen Daughters. It's going to be Charlotte Flair on one side, Tessa Blanchard on the other. And much like Velveteen, she just pissed it all away. She pissed off a lot of people. That's never a good thing. You piss off too many people, you get a reputation. Rightly or wrongly, you get that reputation, man. That's hard to shake. People don't want to work with you. Promoters don't want to bring you in and cause problems and drama and the headaches and everything. And, you know, look, there's a reason why WWE and AEW haven't snatched her up. Even when she was doing the WOW Women of Wrestling stuff, right? We saw those reports of her yelling at people, shouting at people. She's her own worst enemy. Hollywood guy. Is Impact watchable now that Naomi is there? Well, she's not there yet. She hasn't even debuted yet. Is it watchable now that Naomi is there? Why don't you watch the show? Just watch one episode. and you'll see if it's watchable. They have a lot of talent in Impact. They just get no buzz, but they have plenty of talented people on the show. You don't have to wait for Naomi to show up. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor, Melina against Carmelo. Loser has to cook Solomonster food. What would it be? Delicious chicken with flavor? Please. Look at this fucking dinosaur. Talking like it's 1953. You sound like Andy Kaufman in Memphis in the early 80s. When he was doing his gimmick where he would wrestle women for the intergender championship and he would put them down. Oh, our boy Luis just checked in with a $10 super chat. What's going on, Luis? I haven't heard from you in a while. Did you hear that a guy climbed the KTLA tower? KTLA has got to get a higher fence for their television studio at 5800 Sunset Boulevard. So, you're talking about a guy who climbed the tower of a television studio in California and how they need a higher fence, and then you give out the address for said television studio. Makes sense. It wasn't you, was it, Luis? It was you, wasn't it? It was you. I'm sure it was you. Don't do that again. Rizzo with the $5. Why do you think Nick Aldis can't get an AEW or WWE gig? He seems to have the makings of a star. I thought you were going to say he never had the makings of a varsity athlete. He seems to have the makings of a star, yet cannot get into either company. You'd have to ask the people in those companies, I guess, right? If they wanted him, he'd be there. He's back in Impact, and he'll probably be pushed as a top star, if not the champion, probably within a number of months, I would guess. I don't know how long his deal is with Impact, but he's not getting any younger. I mean, if they wanted him, he was there for the taking. I can't speak to what's going on in their minds or why they wouldn't want him. But, again, if they did, he would be there right now. Simple as that. You like that, right? He never had the makings of a varsity athlete. Gotta love Uncle June. Iconic, thank you for the $2. Coming out first, Fight Forever or Cloverfield 2? Cloverfield 2. Well, I mean, there's been more than one Cloverfield, but not really. I mean, they took other existing movies and they attached the name Cloverfield to it to try to make a buck. However, the last update I saw was from last year. Was that they were making a legitimate sequel to the original Cloverfield movie from 2008. So there actually is a proper sequel coming out. I don't know where it is in the development right now. I don't know if it's close to being finished. I have no idea. But at this rate, I would expect the Cloverfield sequel before AEW Fight Forever. If that movie actually does come out, I will go to the movies to see that. I have not been to the movies in probably 4 years. I think the last movie I saw in an actual movie theater was in the summer of 2019. But if that movie comes out, I will be there on day one to see that movie. Just as I was when the first one came out, and I talked about the whole experience on the podcast at that time. Don't ask me which episode. I don't remember. It was from January of 2008. Which, by the way, glad I brought that up. I believe that is one of the episodes that is in the archives. If you're a Sound Off channel member on the Legends tier, the retro audio that is currently up, I think we left off at episode 13, and I have to get back to that and upload more. But the first 13 episodes I ever did are up in the archives on YouTube for Legends tier members. Heroes. I believe the episode is in there where I talk about my Cloverfield experience in 2008. So that actually is up right now. We've got Luis again. It wasn't me, and sorry for doxing KTLA's address. Well, I mean, it's a public address. I'm just saying, you're talking about a story where people are climbing the building, but you're giving away the address. All you're doing is encouraging more people to climb the building, right? We don't want to do that. He says, plus Bad Bunny against Damian Priest sells Backlash. Well, I mean, I would say it would sell tickets for Backlash, but they're already sold out. So Bad Bunny against Damian Priest did not sell a single ticket for Backlash. Bad Bunny sold 17,000 tickets for Backlash. That's pretty much, I mean, let's be honest. That's pretty much what happened. You could pretty much put Bad Bunny in there with anybody. You could have done Bad Bunny against the Energizer Bunny and it wouldn't have mattered. He still would have sold 17,000 tickets. You could have put Bad Bunny in there with the Bunny from AEW and he still would have sold 17,000 tickets. Damian Priest is just the lucky guy who gets to share the ring with him. Gets a big spot on pay-per-view. Good for Damian Priest. He didn't have a match at WrestleMania, so I'm glad that he's going to have a big match at Backlash. All right, Friday night, we have the final live stream for the month of April. We're going to be live after SmackDown on Friday night, talking the WWE Draft, night number 1, and also the WrestleMania rematch for the tag team titles, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against the Usos. So a lot of big things happening on the show on Friday night. You guys know where I'll be. If you want live coverage, you know where to come. Right back here as soon as the show is over. And then this weekend on Sunday, episode 806 of the Solomonster Sounds Off. We got a lot to talk about. CM Punk backstage at Raw. CM Punk's meeting with Chris Jericho. This Naomi news that broke today. This lawsuit. A lot of lawsuit talk with Vince McMahon and WWE. NXT Spring Break-In the other night. We'll talk about that. Dark Side of the Ring. Man, there's a lot of shit going on. Busy week. So we'll cover it all. Hey, Naughty Delicious, you get the last super chat. He says, the good son scenario. Save one, let the other one go. Braun Breaker or Daniel Garcia? Bye-bye, Daniel. Nice knowing you. Hey, Marquise says, see you for the Rampage review, Solo. LOL. Yeah, I'll see you for the Rampage review. Yeah, there you go. That's right. It's going to be awful lonely here for you. I hope you bring a book to read. Anyway, I'll see you guys Friday night. Until then, be well. Stay safe. Thank you for all the love and the super chats. And I will see you back here on Friday night. We'll close out the week talking SmackDown. Until then, take care, guys.